Hunting season is here. That means folks are heading out into the woods and into the marshland. The marshland is where you'll find the Sika deer, known as the marsh ghost.
Did you know the Sika is not native to Delmarva? Did you know they're actually native to Asia? So, do you know, how did they get here from 7,000 miles away? Well, we don't know the answer to that either, but this man does. Secrets of the Eastern Shore author Jim Duffy with us this afternoon. Good to see you, Jim.
Good to see you, too.
Always looking forward to when you're here.
Thanks.
Now, you have been hunting
in a different way.
Through history in a different way. So how did we get the Sika?
It starts in 1916 with a rich guy named Clement Henry. He lived in Dorchester County. So he bought 4 or 5 Asian deer from a dealer in Europe. So they took the long way around, right? So there's no Sika deer here. He buys 5 or 6 of them. He puts them in a pen in his home outside of Cambridge.
Why would he want a Japanese deer?
Exactly, right? It could have been for the cute factor, you know, rich guys, gifts for grandkids, like cute buying deer. A pony for, you know, some little girl or something like that. More likely, though, had to do with his passion for hunting. So we think of, like, problems with species and animals disappearing as a modern problem. It was a huge problem back in 1916. All the waterfowl were disappearing, and shorebirds were disappearing, and white-tailed deer were all disappearing. And there was huge justifiable concern about this, which translated then into kind of an environmental movement, led to things like the Migratory Bird Act and all that. But it also led to rich guys, several of them, buying islands in the Chesapeake Bay to make sure that they could keep hunting and bring animals in and hunt them in a sustainable way. So he bought James Island, which is near Taylor's Island. It's not really there anymore. It's mostly drowned. But then it was 180 acres, and he put his deer out there, and they grew and grew, and then they swam across to Taylor's Island. And by, I think, the 1930s, there were about 1/3 of Dorchester County, and then they spread through most of Dorchester County into bits of Wicomico County.
Okay, then let me ask you a question, because we're talking all the time about invasive species of different things. Is the Sika considered an invasive species?
It has been. There's been concern about it. In the 60s and 70s, they set the harvest level super high because they were also trying to rebuild the white-tailed deer population that I mentioned had almost crashed earlier. But it turned out to be kind of misplaced because these Sika sort of settled into these super low areas of the marsh while the whitetail prefer the high areas of the marsh. And so it's a balancing act. You know, you don't want to have too many Sika so that they move up to the high area. So they set the hunting limits in mind to try and keep both populations healthy. And I think so far they've done a pretty good job.
Now, I see them on acetate. How did they get there?
Oh, that's the fun part of the story. So Clement Henry sold 10 deer to a doctor in Berlin named Charles Law. Charles Law gave them to a Boy Scout troop that was somehow connected with Trimper's Resorts and Daniel Trimper, a famous Ocean City character. The Boy Scouts apparently put them on display at Trimper's as a fundraising thing, you know, give us a quarter and come look at our Japanese deer. That ran its course. They didn't want to do it anymore, and they let those deer loose on acetate.
Just let them go.
And so that's how the populations got here.
Pretty interesting, as is everything.
As is everything.
You come here and tell us about Jim Duffy, Secrets of the Eastern Shore. Thank you so much.
My goodness.